Hey everyone, and welcome back to StarMade. This episode we will be working on a ship. We haven't built one of those yet in this survival series, and I think it's about time. We're kind of established enough that I feel relatively safe to go ahead and build something small and light. This will basically be about the size of this landing pad, and in doing so, its purpose is more probably going to be like a light shuttle, but maybe even a light fighter, depending on how the overall design process turns out. So I'm just going to spawn in a core real quick, even though it fell underneath the floor for some strange reason. We're going to quickly put some power and some thrust on it, and we're going to go build by the shop. The shop, of course, will provide us with some quick access to some blocks. And this being only about a 15 by 15 area that we have to build with, will be an interesting challenge on itself. So we'll just kind of quickly hop into build mode here. We're going to turn on lighten because we are kind of in space, and it will be a little dark for you guys here on YouTube. And let's go ahead and think about how this is going to work. Let's start with some sort of box here. I want the cockpit to be kind of in the back third or so, and let's just go ahead and count out about 15 meters for length. Everything length and stat wise appears over here, which I can actually move to the side a little bit. That way it's just out of the way. And so let's just go for, let's see, that's 7. Let's do 10. And then 5 out the back. 2, 3, 4, 5. So that'll put the cockpit kind of in the back third of the ship itself. Now we can do some interesting things, hopefully. I mean, this is a fairly decently sized structure. It's definitely not the longest by any means. And then if we go 1, 2, 3, you know, let's turn on some planes here so that it's going to be a perfectly symmetrical ship. So there's no point in holding out in terms of that. So let's do a width of well, that's 15 by 15. So you can see we could maybe have a slight dagger shape and square off the end. We can also do more of a narrow body with bigger wings on the side, if that's something we want to do. And overall, we'll see how well this fits and how much room we have. But one of course, the main components for a fighter would be to have an okay power supply. You're not going to get the best in such a small space. I want to try and shoot for, 1,000 or so total power on this thing. And how much charge is that giving us? That is giving us about 2,000 a second. And we can always add more in different spots, but I do want it to be able to defend itself and be relatively quick. So this will be a light ship in general here. So let's knock out some of these supports here, just so this might function. And we can even grab some power capacitors just to throw inside this core there to give us a little bit of a higher total capacity. That brings up the capacity up to about 50,000. What is it by base? 50,000. So I mean, we're only adding about 3,000 or so, but we can fill in some dead space here with some power modules, and that might bring us 57,000. Generally, ships and things, you don't have to worry too much about thrust. A cool little feature that was added is that thrusters actually got a new kind of effect. So I'm just going to show you guys this real quick, as I think it's important. People have been using lights for a long time for their thrusters, but if you can see there, the thrusters actually glow. It's kind of really nice looking. So if we start moving and I go into build mode, you can see the more thrusters you have, the brighter it is, and when you let go of the thrust, they will slowly dim. And you can make things very similar to probably the Millennium Falcon rather easily now with that. I kind of wish they naturally glowed as long as someone was in the cockpit itself, almost as if they were ready to go. But overall, I mean, this is definitely an improvement and can look really, really nice. I don't know if you could maybe change the color of them like you can with maybe ammunition and stuff from, like, say, cannons and stuff. But overall, good idea from them, and it's definitely gonna, I think, pay off in the long run. All right, now we could actually just kind of continue the power supply if we wanted down the nose. I can't get away with putting anything there. I need to rearrange my bar. I'm kind of carrying around a lot of little trash items, which can be a little detrimental. Okay. Just trying to find a good balance for the weight distribution of everything. Let's go ahead and think about the overall shape. So I could technically make the thing fold up, maybe. That would be pretty cool to do. Have like a in-flight mode and have maybe the wings fold up for landing, so we might be able to fit a little bit more of it on the landing pad itself. So that might be something to strive for. Don't know how much that's going to really be a problem, though. I think we're still moving. We are. Why are we still moving? And like, we would need to have a couple rotation pieces here with a core and a dock block, and then another rotation so that we can get a 2-axis rotation for the wings, because we want them to basically fold up. Though I guess in theory we could just place the rotator block over here, and then it can just quickly fold up or down depending. That'd be rather interesting. Or we can keep everything static. That can work as well. Let's go ahead and throw in a Canon computer. I feel like that's actually a good spot for a Canon computer. And just lay out some guns. So we might be able to quickly do something like this. Because we want something that will actually pack a little bit of a punch. Especially compared for the size and everything. Let's check the weapon tab now and just see how much this is going to be doing. It's definitely a light fighter by anything, but let's see. It does 170 per projectile about. And if we go to the weapon tab, let's just check its base rate of fire. Relatively small. You can see there's also a new muzzle flash kind of animation for the cannons, which is pretty cool. A little bit of an extra bit of detail, so you can really see where those cannons are firing from. Now, if we just get good sound design, I feel like that would be a big improvement to StarMade in general. Let's look at some thrusters, possibly. How wide are we at already? We are at width of 9, so we could technically put all the thrusters on the end. which is not something I normally do. Just check our speed here. It's not too bad for its size, but when we add armor, obviously this is going to drastically affect its overall performance. And I wouldn't mind... just overall more power generation and an overall more power supply, just so we can run and gun a lot better. Let's see, and that brings the width up to 13, so we can put armor on the sides with some room to spare. There you go, that's a little faster. I mean, we can still get up to the 300 meters a second kind of threshold here, which is nice. And we can mess with the calibration a little bit, maybe, just to see if we can get some little bit of help with our forward stopping and backwards kind of stopping there. And this still fits on the landing pad. Now the colors, I have no idea what I want to do for that. That's going to be a problem in itself, I think. And to get some glass kind of cockpit formation here, you know, we could probably do orange detailing and maybe a white body. That way we still have the orange from our base kind of tied into this, but the white body might look pretty nice and clean. We can also do a two-tone, so an orange upper and a white lower. That can be nice as well. We need to think about shields. We need to think about a whole lot of little things. Maybe setting up some rails and some buttons to it so it all functions nice and smooth. But first things first, I'm going to have to buy some more cannons. And they are rather expensive, which is kind of a shame. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Can even throw something there. Think about moving these more towards the engine. So we might have a little bit more of an interesting curve for the engine area itself. And then if we take a look, wow, that's taking a nice little chunk of power, which is going to be a little bit of a problem. So this is, we're going to run pretty much the whole length. So let's go all the way to 14. Actually, it needs to be 13 because we need a back plating. And do something like this just to get the most kind of out of the space. And that's going to give us about 4,000 a second. And then it's still quite not enough to maintain gunfire, especially if we're moving. But I do like those muzzle flashes. That's pretty nice. So what you can do in this case is, I guess we could expand this. Really get that to wrap around. And if we disconnect it, is that going to help us? No. Not really. So that's 5.2K, which does get us back up to 100%. We lose about 4,000 some. 6,000 moving. Which I think is okay. It could be better and a little bit more efficient, but I don't usually strive for perfection anyways. And we can just increase the capacity for later. And let's go ahead and look at the shop. Look for some shields. So shield recharging in combat is slow, so you don't really care too much about the recharge rate unless you're a super large structure or something like that. You care a little bit more about the capacity, because after they're down, they're generally not going to be up for a little while. So at least that's the mindset I go into shields. How much do these cost? These cost 600 each. So we'll get, what, 6 shield rechargers and 20 capacitors. And this will drain our power as well, which is going to be interesting nonetheless. And grouping these all together is generally the better practice. So that's going to give us a total of 33 recharge per second on a total of 2,286. Which might be able to at least block a hit or so. I want to look at these thrusters, see what they look like on the side. It looks okay. We might hit some iterations. But we're already about like 15 minutes into this episode, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and either do a speed build. Yeah, we'll probably have to do a speed build. I think that'll be the best thing for this situation. And the design might change during the speed build, but overall you can kind of see what we're going for. Something a little bit more wide rather than length. So let's go ahead and see how this thing turns out. Alright, so as always, I hope the speed build section wasn't too jarring, but this is the final look of the, I'm calling it a light strike vehicle. It's not really super strong by any means. Really, if you would to use it in, say, multiplayer, it might even fall under the drone category, because just how small it is and how light its armament is, and how lightly armored it is. It's not super quick. I did mess with the thruster ratio a little bit just so we have a little bit more oomph going forward and backwards. I had to sacrifice some lateral control and some roll control to do that. But generally, it's slightly peppy, but it's not quite as fast as I was hoping it would be. I think using all standard armor kind of weighed it down a decent amount. So let us go ahead and take a look. So right now it has about 20k armor, 16k total structure, about 3k shield, and about a recharge rate of how to jump into the ship to probably display that properly. Let's just hop in. I didn't have room for rails or anything to make the glass open up. If I would have to probably make it a little bit larger to actually fit that logic in there. And I wanted to try and fit more internals just for utility's sake over design here. But we have some glass on the front of the cockpit, and the front of the cockpit is open enough to where you can see all angles, of course. You can see your muzzle flares from the two cannons. And I don't know what effect to put on cannons. The advanced weapon systems in StarMade are a little over my head. I'm so used to like the old system where that didn't exist. Combining weapon types to get different effects and things is not something I've messed around with at all in StarMade. So if you guys have any suggestions as what to do, it's two simple cannons here. If we bring up the weapons tab, the cannon computer has two groups, and let's see, total damage is about 220, penetration is about 3 blocks or so, damage per penetration is 126, 69, 24, range is 2000, about 1 per second kind of reload here. Each shot takes about 2000 total power, and there's no effects or anything on this. There is just straight cannon. I don't know really what you guys would like, but its total DPS on each cannon is about 440. So, that's okay. You know, it's not, actually, that's both cannons combined is 440, and total power effect is 4,840. And that puts us right under our actual total drain here. If we look at our mass, which is right here, let me drag this little stat menu in the center. I wish I could kind of, oh, you can zoom in. That's great. I was hoping you guys wouldn't be able to read this. So right now we're sitting at about a total mass of about 55, 56, blocks 476, length is 17 meters, and width is 17 meters. So it's technically the 15 by 15, just the two hull pieces on each side kind of providing some armor push that over a little bit. And I'm okay with it. 1 or 2 blocks, and these are even half blocks, so they don't even really matter a whole lot. Total power is about 8,000 a second. Actually, no, this is hooked up to the base. That's not right. There we go, yeah. Total power capacity is 50,000. Total power is 8,000 per second, so we have enough to fire our weapons and move at the same time with 0 drain, which is great. Total thrust is 88.9, and that consumes about 1466. Max speed is 209, which isn't too bad for something about this scale, I don't think. Rotational is a little low. Total shields is about 3.294, and regen's about 33 a second. Total structure hit points, we've already, you know, covered all that kind of stuff, but let's go ahead and lift off here. There we go. And you can see it's a little zippy. If we bring up the thrust, I put about 60% forward backwards, 22% everything else. It's a little There's a little change there for the left to right, but it doesn't behave too poorly. The rotational is kind of off-center because the thrust has been changed a little bit. Of course, from the back, our engines do light up. I don't know if I really want those light blocks in the long run. Let's move this off to the side. Just because it looks a little weird that since the engines do light up now, there's really no sense in having a light blocks unless you want to try and change the color of it. And if we head back this way, it dressed fairly well. Let's go shoot an asteroid a little bit just to see some of the numbers. And then after that, we'll probably call this episode done. Alright, and stop. Perfect. So I'm going to right click just as a straight shot here. And I mean, it's poking, alright. You can see we're getting some extra penetration, which is great. And if I focus fire them, we're going to get a little bit more. So it's definitely more precise targeting. Not really about splash damage. It's more about a pinpoint strike kind of vehicle. So that's why I'm calling it more of a light strike craft rather than a heavy fighter or anything like that. Because really, its DPS, I think, it would be rather low to be in the actual fighter category. Yeah, that's okay. I mean, this is our first vehicle, and I'm sure we'll get better over time as we just practice more and build more as we expand the base. But I wanted an actual ship this episode so that you guys could see how that might work in StarMade. I didn't cover many of the systems, but really the base systems work very similar to just the base, and I kind of already covered how to do, you know, some mediocre reactors and things and what to kind of look for. Just the weapon systems I'm not well versed in. Anyways, I think that's going to do us for this episode of StarMade. So I'm going to be patrolling our space now that we might be able to fight some of the pirates, which will be great. Go ahead and leave a like if you guys enjoy StarMade. Go ahead and subscribe so you guys can see some of my cool daily creative builds here. And leave a comment down below what you guys think of our craft. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next episode soon.